Alright, this guitar is an HD28 from about 77, 76, something like that. It's 368, it's a serial number. My D28 is a 328, that makes it a 73. 368 must be about 74, 75. Whatever the case, it doesn't matter on the exact year. What matters is that it's one of the early HD28s. Well, Martin reissued these in 74, 75. I got to get my years right on this, but about that time they reissued, and that's the first time since 47 or whatever the last herringbone D28 was. First time that we have herringbone binding and scallop braces. Even the last D28s that had herringbone were not scalloped. They were a tapered brace guitar, so they had herringbone and straight tapered braces. They weren't scalloped. I've had a couple of those in here. But this one, mid-70s, Martin reintroduced the scalloped brace D28. And that's what this is. The trouble is back then they hadn't done, seems like they hadn't done much research into the pre-war, and consequently their scallop was not as good as it is today. Modern scallops, like on the Authentic and the GE, have a nice even taper that goes from the X brace, tapers in gradually, comes out. It's a nice smooth taper. The early HTs go like this, and they've got a almost a peak taper, you know. Take that peak and like this. It's almost like a half circle taper, and I call it a cookie cutter because it looks like they just took it out with a cookie cutter. What that causes is a stress riser right here across the back of the belly, and most, if not all, of the HD28s that I've seen from the mid-70s have a pretty significant belly to them, and there's nothing you can really do about it. Nothing. This one's got a little bit of a belly. I haven't even strung it up yet. But let's see what the customer wants. Okay? That's always the first thing. What's the customer want? So here's your stuff. He sent me some stuff. He says he needs a neck reset. He wants a pickup installed. He wants new tuners. He wants to know if it's an affront to the instrument to put gold tuners on it. Is there any way to get a bit more space between the strings? Like maybe a knee saddle or a nut? I rest on your expertise in this matter. Again, I'll leave it to you to determine what else might be needed. Okay? I like that. You know, he says free reign, basically. And of course, again, I'll clear it with him before I do anything. Now, here's another email from him earlier. Problem. The most prevalent problem is the buzzing on the B and the G. My bridge looks pretty chewed up where the strings go through, but that's how the guitar came. No, good to me. I'll look at it now. Tried it. Maybe it means the bridge plate. Do you think the wood was too soft? Well, I don't have a clue what he's talking about right now, but I'll look at it. They say that 70's HDs need the bridge lowered a bit. Is that so? No, something's mixed up there. Okay, basically, you give me a problem on the B and the G. There's a buzzing. He didn't say where it buzzed, how it's buzzing, anything like that. But you know what? I'm going to look at the bridge, and I guarantee it's going to need neck reset because it has no saddle. So you know what I think immediately when I look at this? Your buzzing is coming from the bridge, see, because that string's not putting any, that string has no bite over the saddle whatsoever. I can go like that and it's just slapping back and forth. It's not even touching. He says it's like a sitar. Yeah, I bet it is. Same thing with the B string. It's flopping back and forth. It is not even touching. I bet it's not even touching it. I'll hold it up here to the light. Honest to God, it's not. The B string is not even touching the saddle. So, there's the problem right there. I gotta get my glasses off. This is the nice thing about me on your side, you can really get in there. Gosh, I bet that B string is clearing the saddle about 3 or 4 thousandths of an inch. Not even touching it. So I guarantee you that's going to cause a buzz. Same thing with the G, the D, all of these strings are just sliding back and forth in the saddle. So before I even evaluate it for buzzes, that's got to be fixed. Alright, so here we go. Usual deal. Big tuners. Grover automatics, that's fully expected on here. I fully support his decision to go with tuners. The gold tuners don't bother me a bit. Gold tuners look nice. I think he's going to go with Waverly's. So gold Waverly's. Cool. I've had gold tuners on guitars. I like them. We'll get rid of a lot of that weight. We'll do that. The nut is my Carter. This guitar is stock. So my Carter nut, he says, let's increase the spacing. We're not going to get it at the nut. That's already spaced pretty close to the edges right there. I'm not going to gain anything at the nut. But I'm going to get a new bone nut in there anyways, Frets are pretty worn. Pretty worn to the 5th fret again. The rest of them look pretty good. I don't see a lot of footwear up in here. Probably again, first 5 frets. Let's see what the neck relief looks like. Neck relief's a little bit high. I bet when it's under tension, it's going to be a little over 12, or a little over 10 thousandths of an inch. Here's again my mat, handy dandy. Yeah. What's cool about this is not only can I see the relief, but I can see where it's touching. And let's get it in here again. There we go. Okay, so it's got some relief in the middle of the fingerboard, but not as bad as you would expect. It also has relief all the way up to the 2nd fret. And then there's a hump right here. So you're going to be able to, when I get the first 5 frets out of here, I'm going to be able to come in and sand very, just a little bit. I'm not going to take much off at all. But I would be able to sand at the first 3 frets like that and curve the fingerboard back right there. And that's probably going to make this fingerboard pretty level right then and there. Just because there's a hole right here doesn't mean that the entire fingerboard is evenly curved down. So many times on a Martin, the first fret, the first 2 frets will have a distinct curve up right there. And if you knock that off, then you get a flat fingerboard, which is really handy. You don't have to go in and sand the entire fingerboard sometimes. And that's the case here. So when I do first 5 frets, I'm gonna sand that down just a little bit with a radius. I've got a radius sandpaper. Take a little bit off right there. Get this neck a little bit flatter, and that'll help the playability a little bit. Definitely is going to need neck reset. What else is I'm going to look at on here? Looks pretty good there. I'm looking for cracks on the fingerboard. What I do see is some old glue right here. Makes me wonder if it's had a neck reset. And guess what? There's a hole right here under the fret, the 15th fret. And that's where you put your steam needle in. And this guitar has had a neck reset already. And either the guy didn't give it enough angle, or it needs another one. It's not uncommon for me to see guitars that have had a fairly recent neck reset and the guy didn't give it enough angle. You can get fooled by guitars. You've got to have some, I think, you've got to have some way of measuring the guitar and then making that same measurement when the neck is off so that you can bring the neck to the correct angle. Because the top's going to sink, the guitar will come up like this. A lot of things change when the guitar is unstrung. And you would be surprised at how high, when you run your straight edge down the fingerboard, like this, this is a common check, is to run this down here and it hits the bridge. And it's hitting a 16th of an inch below the bridge. Yeah, it's hitting 16th of an inch, maybe an 1/8 of an inch below the bridge. But when you unstring it and you do that same check, people think it needs to stop right at the bridge. No, that's under tension. So when it's under tension, the straight edge ought to just kiss the top of the bridge. When it's not under tension, that sucker's going to be 100 thousandths of an inch high over the bridge. And as you string it up, everything comes down and makes it touch. If you make it touch the bridge at rest, then you didn't give it enough neck angle. Almost guaranteed. Almost guaranteed. I've got a little trick. I've done so many of these, you know. God, I'm up to like 400 neck resets. And for the first 100, I'd measure the strings into full tension, and then I would relax them all except a little bit of tension. Little tension on the E's. Just a little. So I would measure the tension I would measure the action under full tension, and then I would measure the action of the E without any tension except for this. And from that I made me a little spreadsheet where I could sort of predict that if this was the tension, if this was the action under full tension, then this is going to be the action when it's relaxed. And so what I found out is that basically when all the strings are relaxed, relax, buddy. Fully relaxed. Everybody's relaxed, except that E's got a little bit on it. That's fine. The action ought to be right around 60 thousandths of an inch with the saddle I want on it. Now this saddle is gone. So, it's just, all I'm saying is just an example. I can come in here and I can measure this, and right away, it's bigger than 60 thousandths of an inch. It looks like about 76, maybe even. Yeah, it's 76 thousandths of an inch with zero saddle. So, I'm going to measure the saddle, okay? Just to show you some stuff here. Level that out. I'm going to measure here. .34 thousandths of an inch. The saddle is sitting 34 thousandths of an inch above the bridge. I want to see 140 thousandths, but I'm going to call it 134 just so I want that saddle to come up 100 thousandths of an inch. Okay? That means the action right now will come up 50 thousandths of an inch because it's a 2-to-1 ratio. This 12th fret is halfway to the saddle. So if the saddle comes up 100 thousandths of an inch, the action is going to come up 50 thousandths of an inch. So I told you it was 76 right now. Let's call it 75. That makes it easy. Plus 50 thousandths of an inch. So if I put the saddle height I want right now, it's going to be 125 thousandths of an inch, which is twice what I want it to be. You see, I told you I wanted to see 60 thousandths of an inch at rest. It's going to be around 125 thousandths. It's a little bit more than twice what I want it to be. That's a lot. So I want it to come down, I want the action to come down 50 thousandths because of the 100 I added here, 50, and it's already 76, which is 16 too high. So I want it to come down 65 thousandths of an inch. I want that action to come down 65 thousandths of an inch. It's twice that over here. So 65 thousandths times 2 is 130. And it just happens to be a 3-to-1 ratio from here down to the heel. So I need to divide 130 by 3. And I'm going to be taking about 45 thousandths of an inch off the heel. 43 thousandths of an inch off the heel. That's a lot. That's a lot. A lot of times, most of the time on a 70's, I take about 35 thousandths off the heel. That's a guitar, 70's that comes in and you say, oh, that needs a neck reset. 30 to 35 thousandths is a very common measurement. 43 is pushing it up there. I think the most I've ever taken off a guitar was 65 thousandths or so off the heel of the guitar. So, this thing needs a neck reset pretty bad. I mean, I know it needs a neck reset because there's no saddle whatsoever. I'm just getting a rough figure of how much I'm going to have to take off. So I would take 43 thousandths off the heel. And what I do, But when I get ready to do all this, and the first thing I do is put the actual saddle I want to use in there, string it back up, and see what happens. Because obviously the top's going to act differently with a taller saddle. On this older HD28 too, I might not go for a full 140 thousandths saddle. I might go for a lower one, like maybe 120, so as to not shush that top much. And that's probably what he's talking about when he says, they say 70s HDs need the bridge lowered a little bit. I think he means the saddle. It doesn't. A 70s HD does not want to have a tall saddle. So there's a good possibility I'm going to go for like 120 thousandths of an inch saddle. So I might not end up taking a 43. I might end up taking more like about 35, 40 thousandths of an inch. You know, I'll double check all these measurements. But what I do is I get that amount. There's 40 thousandths of an inch right there. And I take that and I lay it down here on the back of the heel, and I take my X-Acto knife and I just make a scribe right there on the heel, because I'm going to cut that much off. And I use that as a rough guide when I'm fitting the neck. So if I think, man, I've gone too far, I've got my scribe mark on there. And I trust my scribe marks. Been so many times I've looked at it and I've tested it, and it looks pretty good, and the straight edge is high, and I look down there at my scribe mark, and it's like, I got another 10 thousandths to go, and I sit there, and almost every time my scribe mark is accurate. So I trust them. Okay, so let's look inside of it. I got 5 frets to do. That's going to correct. I'm going to be able to correct the relief, which is not bad on this guitar. I'm just going to fine tune it, you know, take advantage of some things. I know it's got a popsicle brush. It does. And then looking for cracks. I don't see any cracks, so that's good. We're going to look down here, and yeah, bracing is exactly what I expected. The scalloping starts about 2 inches away from the X, and then it goes in a big, big curve. So I'm going to leave that alone probably. Oh yeah, Bridgeplate is destroyed, man. It's not destroyed. The ball ends are gone. The ball ends are totally sunk into the Bridgeplate. So that's going to need to be repaired, but his bridge is not slotted. So right away, by slotting the bridge, I'm going to be able to get some fresh grooves in there. But what I will need to do here is rebuild the holes, and I'll do that by putting a piece of tape up on there, and then I will fill the holes with dust and super glue, and I will make a really hard patch down there. You can use baking soda too, you know. Anything that will make a really hard contact point right there, and then I will re-drill the holes and re-ream them and slot them, and that'll be fixed. Those ball ends need to be out on the bridge plate, and they're sunk up into the holes right now. They might even be pushing on the top, which would be bad, because when they hit the top, they're going to be pushing on the bridge, and then basically you're just going to leverage your bridge off. So I should check his bridge. I don't think, it didn't look loose. No, bridge is okay. Bridge is okay. It's still glued on, but pinholes are in bad shape. Got bone pins on there. Another plastic, I take it back. Plastic pins. So there's your problem, you know, when you got a, let's see if I can get this illustrated to you. You've got soft plastic bridge pins. I've got a bridge. There's a bridge. This one's slotted, but this hole is not slotted over here, so we're going to go use this hole. I'm going to put a pin in there, I'm going to put a string in there. Like that. There you go. And that's what it looks like from the inside of the guitar. You've got a soft plastic pin with a big groove in it. You've got a ball end right here, and what this ball end tries to do is work its way up into the groove right here. Over years, I mean 75, right? So what's that, 85, 95, 05, 15, 45 years of string tension. Gosh, it's that old. Man, 45-year-old guitar. here's a fun thing. I like to think about a 1935 D28, and then I add 45 years to that. So 35 plus 45 is 1980. If you would have bought a pre-war Martin in 1980, it'd be the same age as this guitar is right now. Cool, huh? It's fun. That kind of puts this into perspective how old this thing really is. Anyway, point of this, after 45 years, this ball end works its way up this slot, and these pins bend backwards, and they let the ball end go up in there, and that's what chews the slot up. When you slot the bridge, let's go over to this hole because this one's slotted. I'm going to turn the pin around backwards, and you can see now that the ball is forced out onto the face of the bridge plate. You see that? It's forced out here because the pin holds it in this groove, and it won't go up. It won't work its way into the plate. So that's why I slot bridges. This is a so much better system right here, like that, than this is. And if you use bone pins, it'll help a little bit with this, you know, but there we go. Now I'm going to get it. Okay, you see how that ball end is sitting back over here. It's back over the hole. It's over a maple bridge plate, and it's going to chew its way into that bridge plate. Slotted bridge won't. Personally, I think slotted bridges sound just a little bit better. But that's a hard thing to measure, a hard thing to prove, a hard thing to demonstrate. So who cares? Let's just drop that point and go with the point that the slotted bridge is a much sturdier, mechanically secure system, and because the string is not pressing on the plastic pin, you don't get bent plastic pins like this. So if you've ever taken your guitar and tried to pull the pins out and they won't come out, that's because the ball end is jammed up in there between the pin and the bridge plate, and you've got bent pins and you can't pull it out. And that never happens with a slotted bridge. With a slotted bridge, you loosen the strings up and pull the pins right out. Piece of cake. Okay? Alright, so this guitar, we'll do the frets, tuners, the nut. I'll go ahead and fix the bridge plate up. Then I'll put a saddle in that I want. String it back up again, leave it for a week, and then I'm going to do neck reset on it. Pretty straightforward. I'll ask him about the Popsicle brace, but you know, that is truly an owner's decision. I'd pull it because you know, it's a pre-war D28 sort of thing, you know. Sometimes on these H228s, to reduce this belly, I've had pretty good success with finishing the scalloping. And you might think, golly, you know, you're going to make it weaker. Yeah, but what it does is it reduces that stress riser right there. So instead of focusing all of the belly back here, it weakens this just a little bit and lets the whole top rise a little bit more evenly, even more even dome. I had one, a couple, but I remember one in particular. Man, it had a ferocious belly on it. And I scalped those braces just a little bit, smoothed everything into a nice, gentle, even arc. The belly almost went completely away. And the entire top just came up into a nice, smooth, even dome. And it redistributes the stress on the top differently. And the guitar just sounded bouncy. You know, the whole top was bouncing instead of just the back doing this. The whole top was able to breathe more, especially if you run a not too tall saddle. 125 thousandths of an inch of saddle sticking out, which is twice what this is, would be perfectly fine. This again has the issue the pins are not seated. They need to be seated. Keep you from trying to jam them in there. So I'll ask the customer about that, whether he wants to do that or not. I'm not going to push it. You know, it's an option. Here's the reasons why you might want to do it. So, last thing, the intonation. Uh-oh. Here we go. Here's the stick. In the middle of the 12th fret. And man, it's off. It's an eighth of an inch off. So, 1/8 of an inch off. Alright, here's your options then. It does not make a lot of sense to me to patch the bridge plate and scoot the bridge back and drill new holes. My recommendation then is going to be, now I should have measured that a long time ago, but I was thinking about other things. My inclination is going to be replace the bridge plate. Get a brand new fresh bridge plate, fresh holes, everything. Scoot the bridge back an 1/8 of an inch. It needs to be scooted back. And then you got a fresh bridge plate, fresh holes. The bridge is where it should be. It's going to change the tension on the top a little bit, which is going to be a good thing. It's only going to be about 1/8 of an inch, but it's going to make the intonation correct. The other option I have, so that's one option. Take care of the entire bridge system. New bridge plate, scoot the bridge back, finish up the finish in front of it. And I told you the other trick I use. This is a 50's bridge. A 50's bridge is quite a bit thinner front to rear than the 70's. So if you measure it from here, it's about 184 thousandths of an inch. This 70's bridge is 153 thousandths of an inch. So, quite a bit. So when I'm scooting this bridge back, what I would do is reshape it to the thickness of this bridge. And that way, I'm going to move a thinner bridge back, and I probably won't have to take much, if any, finish off the back here. Okay? So this thinner bridge is going to fit into the rear footprint of this bridge. And if you lay it on top of it, golly, you can really see it. The wings are vastly different. You see that? The wings on this 50's are like 992, 993, and 1097. These wings are a lot thicker, so I'm going to reshape the wings and reshape the back of it. I'll be able to scoot this entire bridge back, and it'll still fit almost in the original footprint. That means if you ever wanted to restore it, you would take off that, the bridge is shaved, but you could put a new bridge back into the same footprint, and you could be out of tune again if you wanted to. But also, I like the effects of the thinner bridge. It torques a little bit differently, and thinner bridges, front to back, are snappier than big fat bridges, which is one reason why I detest oversized bridges, because it's the opposite direction from a 50's bridge, and a 30's bridge for that matter, You're going the wrong way when you make an oversized bridge. You're going farther and farther away from a 30's guitar. This way I can push it closer to a 30's. So that's one option. Work on the bridge. The second option is this. Since it needs a neck reset anyways, one option is to put shims up here under the heel. Right up under the heel right here, and you're going to take the neck back about 1/8 of an inch, whatever you need to do. Now that is a nice option because you didn't mess with the bridge system at all. So you got the stock bridge and the stock place and the stock bridge plate, which will be repaired. All that stock. And you're going to shift the neck out a little bit, which is going to open up a little bit up here, but it's going to take a sharp eye to see that. You're going to pull the neck out a little bit, intonation will be correct, and because I'm going to do a neck reset anyways, I will work the neck reset into the shims. So I'll have a shim that's this thick, and the neck angle will come back like this on it. And so you've worked your neck angle into the shim. You didn't destroy anything. If anybody ever wanted to restore it back to the original condition, all they would do is take the neck off, take my shim off, put the neck back on, and you're back in the original condition. Bingo. No damage done whatsoever. No damage done to the finish. The bridge isn't scooted. Anything. I had a really, really nice early 70's HD28 come in that was pristine. I mean, it had been under, literally under a bed. And this one's got some, pick scratches and stuff. The other one was absolutely pristine. And the intonation was off. I couldn't bear the thought of having a scar on that pristine top. So I suggested we shim the neck back.